What's going on, everybody? My name is Dan the Realtor, your local DMV real estate agent. Today, we're going to be talking about the top 5 issues that are plaguing the real estate industry today. Number 5, is the real estate market going to crash? With the collapse of the SVB, most investors and prospective homebuyers are wondering, is now really a good time to move my money into real estate? Most industry professionals aren't expecting a real estate crash. We are still looking at financial markets by and large, as that could trickle down into the real estate market.
Hello, Mrs. Farnickel. How are you today? Making a deposit, are we? Great. We can just put that into your retirement account and make it go to work for you, and it's gone.
The good news is there's some concrete data that shows this market is very different than the market in 2008. So if you're concerned that we made the same exact mistakes that we made in 2008, take a look at this graph. The main difference when it comes to the real estate market in this market and the market of 2008 is the fact that we don't have as much inventory now as we did back then. During the height of the Great Recession, we had about 10 million houses available for sale, which is just way too many houses for prices to be competitive. Now we're at the opposite end of that spectrum with about 2 million houses, so we're about 6 million houses short compared to the amount of demand that we have for housing in America. With the shortage of houses, it's really hard to see how prices can plummet. The biggest inventory issue we have right now is rate-locked home buyers. People have such good interest rates that they're not moving, and prospective buyers don't have anywhere to live because new listings aren't coming to the market. This is what's continuing to put upward pressure on prices. In many areas in America, including here in the DMV, we're still in the seller's market at 1.3 months of inventory. And because of that lack of inventory, it's really hard to see how what happened to real estate during the Great Recession is going to happen now.
Oh, Mr. Marsh, don't worry. We can just transfer money from your account into a portfolio with your son, and it's gone.
Number 4, mortgage rate. 2023 saw the largest and fastest increase in mortgage rates in the history of our country. So if you're a prospective buyer or seller and you're waiting for those interest rates to come down, you may be waiting for a really long time. The challenge with interest rates is now that the SVB bank has gone under, if they lower interest rates to secure the bond market, that could increase inflation, but the only way to control inflation is by raising the interest rates. And if they raise the interest rates, that could remove the backstop from a lot of banks and could lower the consumer confidence. But as we know, the Federal Reserve is only interested in protecting big banks and the government, which means they're more than likely going to lower the interest rates so that they can protect the interests of the big banks, so that consumer confidence returns back to the big banks. And if inflation happens, they'll just blame it on the prior administration or chalk it up to collateral damage. That being said, I think that the Federal Reserve is going to completely give up on inflation. They're going to start lowering the interest rates to protect the banks. And if the Federal Reserve does lower the interest rates, that could push us back into a hyper seller's market like we just came out of. Now, before we get on to the rest of the content, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to subscribe to my channel and hit the notifications button so that you're the first to know when I drop new content. Number 3, what happens if the economy goes into a recession? So if you look at this graph, historically we know that when the economy goes into a recession, it will more than likely mean lower interest rates and most homeowners looking to refinance out of their higher rate mortgages. But one thing's for certain, people are always going to need a place to live. So while they may cut back on some of their other expenses, most people are going to spend the bulk of their money on rent or mortgage. So if you take a look at the graph, in 1980, mortgage rates decreased by 4.2%. In 1981, mortgage interest rates decreased by 5%. 1991, they decreased by 2.5%. In 2001, they went down to 0.63 and then 1.3. And then in 2020, they decreased by 1%. Historically speaking, every time we have a recession, mortgage rates go down. But who knows? The Federal Reserve doesn't always do things that make sense. The 4th issue is home values. What we've seen in home prices is extended days on market, and we've seen a lot of price drop. Most of those price drops were sellers who had unrealistic expectations about the value of their home. And then the buyers told them exactly what their house was worth. We are not seeing an influx of listings. And the reason we're not seeing an influx of listings is because of rate-locked home buyers and an increase in the interest rates. That is what's keeping upward pressure on the prices. And we don't really see any relief of that pressure anytime soon. So the forecast for home values seems to be split down the middle. But we have to keep these numbers in context because we have to remember that over the past 2 years, house values have increased by over 20% in some areas. And so if we take a 5% decrease from the 20% increase, we're still up 15% from where we were before the pandemic. And then the 5th issue is buyers waiting on the sidelines.
What do you mean? I have $100.
Not anymore, you don't. Poof.
No matter what happens to home prices, whether you buy in a low interest rate market, or you buy in a high interest rate market, or you buy during a recession, or you buy during inflation, Real estate values over time have continued to go up in value. This is just a numerical fact. If you decide you want to buy in a high interest rate market, then your mortgage is going to be a little bit higher, which means you're probably going to get a smaller house. If you decide to wait for interest rates to come down, that means you need to prepare to submit offers in a highly competitive market, which means you need to be prepared to overpay for the property. You also want to prepare to not have a home inspection to possibly cover the difference between the appraisal and the list price, and you'll need to prepare to possibly have to remove your financing contingency in order to be competitive in a hyper seller's low interest rate market. If interest rates go down, that's the market we're going to go back into. Yes, affordability is a challenge right now, and the key is to stay and work within your budget. If 2 years ago you could have bought a house for $800,000 for $2,500 a month, those days are gone now. You may need to reduce your expectations on the type of house that you need to buy. Right now in the DMV, it's way better to own your property than to rent. Certain areas it's not the case, but here it definitely is. So if you're looking to buy this year and you want to put your best foot forward, take a look at my next video. I'm Dan the Realtor. I'll see you next time.